Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here and to having you here in the audience. My name is Rosibel Martinez, and I am a PCCB member, the Paris Committee on Capacity Building member, and leader of Working Group 2 on Cross-Cutting Issues. I would like to welcome you all to the third day of this Capacity Building Hub on just transition and sustainable economies. Today, we seek to explore opportunities, strategies, and guiding principles for an inclusive and just transition to sustainable economies. At the same time, we will discuss current and emerging gaps and challenges related to just transition, to name a few: loss of jobs and increase of poverty, especially for vulnerable groups of our society. As a leader on Working Group 2 on cross-cutting issues, I am particularly interested in today's session and their outcomes with regards to gender responsiveness, human rights, indigenous peoples, and youth inclusion. The outcomes are important to all of us here at the PCCB. Is keen on learning from, including best practices within its work as our homework at the COP. So let me tell you a little bit more about the PCCB and the PCCB network. It was established at COP21 with the mission to identify gaps and needs and potential solutions, including enhancing the coherence and coordination of capacity building efforts related to climate change. To support the PCCB mission, the committee also launched the PCCB network in 2020 as a voluntary association of interested stakeholders engaged in climate-related capacity building. Here we are, the fourth PCCB hub, and we regularly mobilize the expertise of its network members through interactive and collaborative activities like this fourth capacity building hub here today at the COP. Here we promote a space for representation and inclusion. As a leader on cross-cutting issues, with the help of the fourth capacity hub, cross-cutting issue experts, and support of the organizers, ACE and the youth voices will be mainstreamed through their dedicated thematic day on building capacity with ACE Day on the 15th, as well as on other thematic days, with 22 events for ACE and 16 for youth. Gender will be mainstreamed at 23 events. Indigenous peoples' knowledge will be mainstreamed at 7 events. And although only 3 events made explicit reference to mainstreaming human rights, due to the interlinked nature of human rights, they are implicitly in the other cross-cutting issues, which doesn't undermine the importance of being explicit and invoking the human rights obligations in the context of climate change. Coming back to our session for this Capacity Building Hub Day dedicated to just transition and sustainable economies, we would like to first thank our lead partners of today, the International Labour Organization and the World Resource Institute. Today we have sessions by the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, Agora Energy Transition, the Katowice Committee on Impacts, the Commonwealth Secretariat, SLICAN Trust, and the UN High-Level Champion in collaboration with International Trade Union Confederation, the Skill Lab, and the Clean Cooking Alliance. Today's overall focus on just transition towards environmentally sustainable economies aligns with the annual focus area of the PCCB on building capacity to facilitate the coherent implementation of nationally determined contributions in the context of national development plans and sustainable recovery. As part of this focus area, the PCCB hosts the Durban Forum Deep Dive annually in its 2021-2024 work plan. The event aims to ensure effective cross-fertilization of ideas and interchange between discussion at the Durban Forum. In this regard, the Durban Forum Deep Dive focused on the topic coherently implementing the climate and development agendas in the context of sustainable recovery, building capacities for green skills and climate innovation. On behalf of the PCCB, I will be sharing the key outcomes from the 2022 Durban Forum Deep Dive PCCB follow-up webinar to the 11th Durban Forum on Capacity Building. The webinar was hosted by the PCCB on September 28th of this year, and we thought it would be valuable to share with you briefly its findings, given that the theme of the webinar is closely related to what we will be discussing today. So I think, so we're going to look at the objectives. And the webinar's objective was to shed light on the role of capacity building in bouldering capacity for innovation to boost climate-informed and contextually appropriation solutions for a sustainable recovery in line with the national climate and development priorities, leaving no one behind. The other objective was enabling gender-responsive green skill development to support a just transition of the workforce in the implementation of NDCs and sustainable recovery, including by engaging educational and training institutions, industry associations, and the private sector, and labor unions. Can we go to the other slide, please? The main panel discussion consisted of representatives of the Climate Technology Center, CTCN, and the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organizations International Center for Technical and Vocational Education and Training, UNESCO, UNEVCOC, and Industrial All Europe, a member of the UNFCCC trade union. NGO short is for Tongo constituency, who share their views and idea as well as experiences and lessons learned from their work. First, Nadiji Trost, that's very hard to pronounce, Trodiser from the CTCN highlighted the CTCN's network program commencing in 2023, which aims to create an enabling environment for climate technology acceleration, technical assistance, capacity building, private sector investment, and knowledge sharing. Leverage two new enablers, national systems of innovation and digitalization. Second, Kenneth Barrientos from UNESCO UNEVOC highlighted that the UNESCO strategy for TV, it would be from 2022 to 2029, which aims to develop skills for all individuals to respond to the shift in demand of the labor market, transform technical and vocational education and training, TVT in short, systems to supply the skills needed for inclusive and sustainable growth in the context of the twin transitions to digital and green economies. And third, Aline Conchon from Industry All highlighted their organizational objective to leave no one behind by creating a thriving decarbonized industry that delivers high-quality jobs and to secure a job-to-job transition by providing training and avoiding unemployment phases. After the panel discussion, the webinar proceeded to the on-the-ground example sharing segment regarding good practices and examples of promoting climate innovation and green skills for climate action. The example sharing segment consisted of 3 speakers: Penny Gasela from South Africa, Eddie Sembataya from Finding XY, a private sector entity from Uganda, and Sergio Lamota from UNFCCC Technology Executive Committee. The key insights shared are the following. Just transition involves seizing opportunities and managing risks toward a climate resilient and low carbon economy while improving individual lives and livelihoods, particularly those most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. To ensure just transition, that is equitable and inclusive. Green skill development is crucial to workers to adapt and transfer from areas of declining employment to the other industries where clean and greener production and service patterns. And capacity building should involve a systemic perspective integrated with host country development objectives, a tailored approach bridging sector and on innovation phase specific gaps, participation of local actors and inclusion of local knowledge and coordination among actors, engagement with international institutions and collaborations to help build local institutions and networks, evolutionary and adaptation innovation in organizations, long-term planning, and continuous monitoring of review. Finally, to end today's sharing, I would like to direct your attention to 2 links with relevant resources for your review and consideration. First, the QR code. Do you see it in the panel? To the right, no, in the panel, will direct you to the Capacity Building Portal, which is an interactive tool that gathers and presents active information on more than 350 projects, tools, courses, and other resources that enhance the capacity and ability of developing countries to respond to climate change at national and regional levels. The portal is continually updated by the UNFCCC Capacity Building Team, with active contributions of both party and non-party stakeholders and inputs from the PCCB. With that, I conclude the 2022 Durban Forum Deep Dive outcome sharing, and we look forward to your continued engagement in the upcoming year. Thank you all, and now a warm welcome to our colleagues from the International Labour Organization, who will take over the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good morning, friends. On behalf of the International Labour Office, it's my pleasure to be joining this session of the PCCB and to mention that this day dedicated to just transition is an honor, and it's a pleasure to see it happen, given that we have come to a very clear realization that the ambition that countries are seeking to address climate change is not about just numbers. Ambition is about people. It's about making people having the right skills, the right capabilities to unleash their energies for action at national and local levels. This also means having enterprises that are able to innovate, to put on the market products and services that will lead us to a sustainable production and consumption society. So therefore, this is the right theme, this is the right moment for just transition. The ILO is pleased to be co-leading this day with our friends from the World Resources Institute, and we have a number of other organizations that are going to be involved in the day. From the morning, we will have the Commonwealth Secretariat and Slick and Trust. We'll have the Office of the UN High Commissioner on Human Rights, the Katowice Committee on the impacts of the implementation of response measures, and of course the PCCB and the World Resources Institute. So please allow me to say that when we speak about just transition, we are just not putting out words. We need to understand that decarbonizing the world, moving out of fossil fuels by the end of this century, means very deep economic and social transformation around the world. This is going to be very difficult for a number of countries, and we should not underestimate the challenges and the difficulties that some countries, some industries, economies, and communities will face. So therefore, the decarbonization agenda can only happen in an ambitious and fast way if it goes hand in hand with the right economic and social policies that we need. If people fear for their jobs, for their incomes that we all have and care about, they will be obstacle to action. The good news is that there is solid evidence that we are on a positive narrative. Ambitious action against climate change can deliver more and better jobs. It can stimulate economic growth. It can reduce inequalities, and it can help countries and communities that depend on a very narrow range of economic activities and industries to transform themselves and to diversify their economies. So therefore, that positive narrative, we should piggyback on it. We should put in place the labor market policies, the social policies, and for that, skills development and capacity building are fundamental. Our analysis tells us that for a net zero to be possible, we need to retrain 122 million workers in the fossil fuel industry. So that is a big challenge, but it is possible. Our own analysis in the ILO indicates that we have a potential for 100 million jobs in the low carbon and resource efficient economy, but there will be displacement for 78 million jobs. Now, of those 78 million jobs, 43 million around. My colleagues from Skills Hiking is here and can come and give more insights, but most of them can be finding new jobs in the same occupations, in the same industries, and in the same countries. So this is a good news. But there will be some, about 20, that will not be able to find the same jobs in the same occupations. They would need to be redeployed in other sectors of activity. But we see that it is happening. If you look at what companies like O'Neill or Ørsted or Iberdrola in Spain have done, retraining their workforce, shifting them away from fossil fuels, from oil and gas operations into wind operations, it shows that there is a portability of skills. So we have that opportunity that we need to build on. Now, the second important point I wanted to mention is that we need to put more emphasis on technical vocational training and education. We have been working a lot with TVET institutions, and the ILO is just releasing a guide on greening TVET, where we will be able to work with TVET institutions around the world to help provide the training in the emerging occupations and get the right engineers and technicians to be ready to enter the workforce. So the final message I want to convey is that young people are going to be the engine of this transformation. We live in a world of young people. If James Brown was alive still today, he would have sung that we are in a young people's world. This is a young people's world. We need to get young women and men, young girls and boys to be ready for this transformation and build that capacity in schools, in education systems, and really get the opportunity we have with the energy of young people to transform the world. So this is a moment of challenge, a moment of crisis and difficulty for the politicians, but it is a moment of opportunity for young people. And that change will happen, in my own opinion, from the young people, and we should work with them to make this happen. So we're very pleased again to have this Just Transition Day on the Capacity Building Hub, and we look forward to engaging with all of our institutional partners remaining in the day and very much working on the tools we have. You know, we have the ILO guidelines for a just transition that many countries are using, but I won't dwell on it because in the sessions, in the course of the day, we'll have a moment to come to speak of those guidelines, how they are being used, and how much more we can do with them. So again, thank you so much for the opportunity to have us here, be part of this very important moment, and wish all of us a very successful day. Thank you.
Hello again. We're trying to discuss. At 9:30, we'll have the Enabling Just Transition Policy, Technology, and Community Engagement with Agora Energy Transition. So please stay here and join us for this important panel. Thank you. Have a nice, good day.
Sorry, I forgot to mention Agora Energy. Oh, you're doing the session now? Oh, yeah, okay, from the secretary, yeah. No, thank you so much for